I moved to the US in 2022 for my graduate studies. Between 2022 and now, I've been able to grow my credit score to the 700s. For someone who literally had no credit history and had to get a credit card, I realized very quickly that not a lot of credit card companies were willing to take a bet on me, and I needed to start building my credit history in the US. And so what I'm going to share with you are the types of cards that you should be looking out for, the specific card that I got, and some other alternatives. And I'm also going to be talking about how I grew my credit score, but that will be in a different video. So if you're interested in watching how to grow your credit score, then you might want to stick around for that video. The whole aim of the credit cards that I'm going to share with you is to help you build your credit and credit history. So I want you to be able to grow your credit score, not just have access to credit. So this video is not for you to have a ton of money in credit for you to spend. No, it's for you to build your credit score, to build a solid credit history in the US, or rebuild your credit score. If you're someone who your credit score has fallen off and you're trying to rebuild it, then this video will be super helpful for you. There are 4 things that you need to prioritize when it comes to picking credit cards, especially if you're looking to rebuild your credit or you're looking to build a credit history in the US if you have none. The first one is we want to look for credit cards that have no annual fees. Second, we want to look for credit cards that have no minimum deposits or really low minimum deposits. Next, we want to look for credit cards that have low credit limit. And I know a lot of people kind of say, oh, you want to get as much credit as possible. I honestly believe that if you're looking to rebuild your credit or if you're looking to start building your credit history, you want to start in a position of empowerment. You want to start in a position that allows you to really learn how credit cards work and allows you to, very gradually build your credit without putting yourself in a ton of debt. So if you have a credit limit that's really, really high right off the bat, what would happen is if you haven't really learned the principles of credit cards and how to use them and how credit works, you will end up putting yourself in an insane amount of debt pretty quickly. And because of the interest rate that's on credit cards, that's super, super painful, that debt is just going to continue to grow. Finally, you want to get on an account that has no credit check, or their credit check process is not extremely restrictive. There are credit cards that will not give you a credit card if you don't have a specific credit score, or they need to go through all this check for your credit history. You just want to make sure that you are that is not as strict, is not as tight when it comes to these credit card companies that you're applying to, especially for someone who doesn't have a credit history or someone who is rebuilding their credit. So again, no minimum deposits or low minimum deposits, no annual fees, low credit limits. It's a yes for us. And finally, no very tight credit check or a need for a credit history before you can apply. What is a nice to have? The first things that I mentioned are things that are deal breakers. If a credit card company is not offering any of these things, is a deal breaker. A nice to have is if you can get some rewards on the credit card, that's awesome. Another nice to have is if they're giving no interest fees, that would be amazing. If they're no crazy interest fees for you to pay, but not a lot of cards are going to offer you that. If they have low interest fees, that too would be nice. The interest rate thing doesn't really faze me as much, because if you understand how credit works, you would almost never be a victim to interest rates. And then another plus is if you have no late fees, that would be amazing as well. Before I get into the cards, I'm also going to let you know the type of cards that you should totally avoid. Totally avoid cards that are giving you really, really high limits right off the bat, high credit limits. Those are debt traps. For someone who is still rebuilding their credit or building their credit score, you want to get really smart about how the credit system works, and having a credit card with a high credit limit, like I mentioned before, is just not great. Also avoid things like payday loan cards or things like that. That is not, I think a lot of these cards may not even want to give it to you, but if anything like that comes around and they're no credit check history needed, nothing like that, don't go for them. Those are very dangerous cards. They come with insane interest rates, so high. It's just designed to keep you in debt for life. So do not sign up for credit cards like that. What then are the credit cards? I'm going to start off with the third one and then walk you through all the way to the credit card that I actually used. The third credit card that I would mention is the Discover It Secure credit card. So this credit card is great if you're looking to rebuild your credit or build a credit history while also enjoying some rewards. You know how I said earlier that rewards are a plus? For me, starting off, I really wanted to have travel points and things like that, but I knew the priority was just building my credit history, and eventually I would get to a place where I could start to get travel points from my credit card company. But I just wanted to focus on building a really solid credit history and growing my credit score. However, if you want to kick off with like making sure you have some rewards, then this card is really, really good for you. You're going to get 2% cashbacks on gas and restaurants, 1% on other purchases, and they report to all three credit bureaus. So the three credit bureaus are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. If a company is trying to get like your up-to-date credit score, they could be going to any of these credit bureaus to get your up-to-date credit score. And you really want to have a credit card that reports to all of them, or at least reports to one of them. And this card reports to all three of them. This card comes with a $41 late payment fee. So when you're getting the credit card, you always want to know like what is the interest rate, the late payment fee, when exactly is your due date for payment, so that you're never in a situation when you're paying for late payment. It has a $41 late payment fee, which if you just avoid paying late, you would never have to pay that fee. It also comes with a $200 minimum deposit. So if you do have $200 that you can put as a minimum deposit on a credit card, then and you also want rewards, then this is a wonderful credit card for you who's looking to rebuild your credit or build credit history. Go ahead and apply. I think it's absolutely worth it. Also, the amount of credit that you get is usually connected to exactly how much you are depositing for your security deposit. So if you can put more money towards your minimum security deposit, that could also help you get a little bit more leeway when it comes to your credit limit. But like I said before, I'm not really one to say try to push for the most credit limit that you can get. I'm more one to say be consistent at your payments, learn how credit cards work, how the credit systems work, how the credit system in the US works, because then you can leverage that to really build your credit score. So even if you can put maybe way more money onto this credit card and minimum deposit, I would recommend, if you're rebuilding your credit, if you're new to the US and building your credit history, start small, and that way as you continue to learn and get better, you can go the long haul and build a really strong credit score. The second credit card that I would recommend is the Chime Credit Builder card. I 100% would have gotten this card for myself. I genuinely was this close to going for this card, but here are just a couple reasons why I would say go for this card. The card has no annual fees, no interest fees, and it has no late fees. You don't need a credit check to apply for this card. It's almost like a card that's designed to help you control your spending. So whatever you deposit into the credit card, that's essentially what you're spending. So it really helps you control how much you're spending. If you're someone who struggles with that, it means you're not going to have any late fees, you're not going to have any annual fees, you're not going to have there's just so many things that comes with this card that I really love. There's also no minimum amount you have to deposit. I feel like this card almost operates like a prepaid card. You put money onto it and then you make expenses from it. So it's just designed to help you build your credit, but it also takes away a lot of the potential challenges that could come along when it comes to how people use their credit. What did I love about this card? First is that it doesn't measure your utilization rate on your card or utilization ratio on your card, which I think is so important to help you and to have anyone who's looking to build credit really build the habit of how the credit system works. Utilization ratio measures how much of your available credit limit that you are using every single month. And the goal, if you really want to build your credit score, is to keep your utilization ratio at 30% or less. So if you are spending more than 30% of your available credit limit, you are putting yourself in a situation where growing your credit score could be challenging, because these credit companies track your utilization ratio and that impacts what your credit score comes out to be. So 100% you want to make sure that you are tracking utilization ratio, but for this particular credit card, they're not tracking that for you, which can be both a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because if you don't pick up that skill early on, it could be very difficult for you to adapt, for you to learn moving forward when you have a credit card with a higher credit limit. However, this card also is designed to help you manage overspending, which is awesome. So who knows, like, because it's already helping you learn how to not overspend, having a credit limit that's higher, like your spending habit that's already built out may not necessarily change, and so your utilization ratio will still be lower. Another thing I don't like about this card is that it doesn't offer any kind of traditional rewards. And finally, you need to have an actual Chime account for you to open this credit card, which is just like, I'm not such a fan of it. But listen, if you're trying to build credit and 100% is something you've struggled with before, maybe you're rebuilding your credit, or if you're trying to build credit and you don't have a credit history and you have issues with overspending, I 100% would recommend this card for you. And then we get into the card that I actually use. The card that I ended up using is the Capital One Platinum Security Card. This is the one that helped me grow my credit score in the US first. So this card has a minimum deposit as low as $49. It has no annual fees, but it does have an interest rate of 29.99%, as at the time, I think now it's about 30%. But like I mentioned before, if you dig in to understand how credit works and how to really manage credit, you would never be prey to interest rates. For me, having like the interest rate just made me feel like, oh yeah, this is the reality of how credit works, and I needed to learn how to beat the system. So if you can understand that, then you would never be prey to this, but the interest rate is quite high. And it also has a late fee of $45. So what do I love most about this credit card is that it has such a low credit limit. You could always apply to extend your credit limit if you've been in good faith with your credit card within like a 6-month period. But I really love that the credit limit was really low, and it forced me to like spend most of my money on my debit card, and then I was just using my credit card to pay for a couple of things and paying them off really quickly immediately I made the expense. What I hated most about it is that it didn't give any points, any kind of tangible rewards, and I just found that very, very annoying because I really wanted travel points when I started building credit history in the US. However, this card helped me build my credit score the first time into the 700, so I would 100% recommend it if you're someone who's looking to build credit history because you have none, or you're looking to rebuild your credit. So there you have it, just a couple of the cards that I would recommend for you if you're looking for like a credit card that you could use to like spend, pay your debt real quick and all of that. Like a lot of credit is on the cards. This would not work for you. But if you're just looking to really build your credit score, build your credit history in the US, rebuild your credit, then these credit cards are super good. They're super awesome. There are other options out there that you could go check out, but for me personally, these are the ones that I had my eye on when I started my journey to building credit in the US, and the ones that I would recommend. I will be sharing a couple of videos on this channel on like how to build your credit score, like explaining how credit works. So if you're interested in those type of videos, stick around to watch them. I'm also going to put the next video that will walk you through how I saved my first $13,000. Keep watching, and so much value is packed into the videos on this channel. Until next time, bye.